name is Jeremy with Faith Guardian Training Center, and today we're going to be talking about the respiratory system, and specifically its functions. This includes ventilation, oxygenation, respiration, diffusion, and understanding partial pressure. So the first concept is ventilation. Ventilation is the physical movement of air in and out of the human body. So if you take a BBM to somebody's face, and you are forcing air into their lungs, you are ventilating them. This does not mean you're oxygenating them. This does not mean you're causing respiration. You're just strictly ventilating them at that point. Similar concept of placing a fan inside of a hallway and turning it on. The fan is circulating air from an area that it wasn't to an area that it's going to. And so that's the way to think of ventilation. Oxygenation, on the other hand, oxygenation is the actual process of oxygen getting onto the hemoglobin inside the bloodstream. Right? And so this happens across the alveolar capillary membrane. This is not an exchange. This is strictly the oxygen going from the alveoli across the alveolar capillary membrane into the capillaries, where it loads onto the hemoglobin. Next up, we have diffusion. Diffusion is a gas exchange. Okay, it's essentially saying that two gases are getting exchanged. It doesn't say which gases. It is just a change. Diffusion occurs from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration until those concentrations are equal on both sides of the membrane. So, for example, if I breathe in oxygen, the oxygen from the outside air is at 21%. The oxygen in my blood is going to be less than 21% at the alveolar capillary membrane. So the oxygen concentration that I breathe in is going to be it's going to diffuse across the alveolar capillary membrane until I have equal amounts of oxygen on both sides. Okay, and that is an example of diffusion. Respiration is just it's a cousin to diffusion. Respiration is what happens whenever you have the exchange of the oxygen and the carbon dioxide at the cellular level. So, for example, what this means is that going back to diffusion, diffusion does work both ways. Respiration is what happens whenever the carbon dioxide that's in the blood, which is going to be a high concentration, meets the low concentration that's inside the alveoli, and so the carbon dioxide starts to come out until there's an equal concentration of carbon dioxide on both sides of the membrane. And the same thing is true for oxygen. Whenever oxygen is in the alveoli, it goes to the low concentration of oxygen that's circulating in the blood until they are equal. And that is how respiration occurs. Respiration refers specifically to carbon dioxide and oxygen. Diffusion just refers to any gas that has a movement. And now, with respiration, you have external respiration, which occurs in the lungs because we breathe air from the outside, inside of our lungs, okay, to our alveoli, which is just essentially this big open tube, this big straw, essentially, from your alveoli all the way up to your mouth and your nose, and that's allowing air to move in and out. Internal respiration is the exact same thing as external respiration, except it happens inside of your muscles, such as your biceps, your organs, your liver. It is still the exchange of the carbon dioxide and the oxygen at the capillary level, and that is respiration. The way that the respiration and diffusion works, it works by something that's called partial pressure. So, for example, if you have partial pressure, that is the measurement or the amount of gas in the air fluid, and it's going to be measured in millimeters of mercury, or mmHg. So, for example, I'm breathing in 21% oxygen right now. That partial pressure of the gas is 21 or 0.21. And you've taken multiple colored marbles. For example, if I lay out 100 marbles, 20 of them are going to be red, which is going to be represented by oxygen. The other 78% is going to be represented by nitrogen. And that is actually what keeps our lungs open and fills up most of the dead space in the lungs. But we'll get to that in another video. And then you're going to have one marble that we'll say is a black marble that's composed of the other 1% of the gases. So again, partial pressure is just a measurement in percent of the gas, right? In comparison to what else is out there. Right? So in this video, we've talked about ventilation, oxygenation, respiration, diffusion, and how respiration and diffusion are different. And we've started to talk about partial pressure. These are all really important concepts that you need to understand.